Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. I'll give you the latest news about the infrastructure negotiations that are ongoing. Here's what's interesting. We don't know whether it's a deal or no deal. Confusion is actually surrounding the Senate infrastructure talks as lawmakers leave for the weekend. You'll see this tweet on your screen from Burgess Everett, who's a co-congressional bureau chief for Politico, and he writes, as they leave for the weekend, senators paint a confusing and chaotic picture of whether there's a deal amongst the bipartisan group of 10 senators. Now, this would be about $500 billion in new spending, totaling around $900 billion, but many things are still unresolved. We'll show you this headline on your screen from Politico, deal or no deal, confusion rules Senate infrastructure talks. Now, some senators are claiming that their group actually made a lot of progress, but others are saying that they doubt a bipartisan deal can actually happen. Let's take a look at some comments. Senator Mitt Romney, the Republican from Utah, who's a member of this bipartisan negotiating group, which is actually interacting and engaging with the White House, with the Biden administration. He said talks are, I quote, in the middle stages, but he did not expect a deal before the Senate left. Now, Senator John Tester, who's a Democrat from Montana, said that the centrists don't have an agreement, but we might. And he said that there are some long-held disagreements over spending numbers and how to pay for it. And this is what Tester said, I quote, for some people it's going to be plenty. For others, it's not going to be near enough. There's going to be challenges for Republicans and Democrats. And he said the words Republicans use are, we have a general total agreement. In other words, they still seem to be pretty far apart. Now, Senator John Cornyn, who's a Republican from Texas, who, by the way, is a close advisor to the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, said the talks have promise, but it's a work in progress. Now, here's what's really interesting, and this is a comment from Senator Roy Blunt, who's a Republican. He said this, the advantage of the other group that Shelley Moore Capito, who's a Republican from West Virginia, was working with was that it had structure. You had committee staff, those ranking members could probably bring most of their members. He said he'd be pleased to be surprised, but that he expected negotiations would end with Democrats moving forward without bipartisan support. In other words, you have a Republican here who's saying that, hey, the Democrats might use a process of reconciliation again. Senator Joe Manchin, the one and only, the Democrat from West Virginia, said he believed, I quote, things are moving in the right direction, but declined to be more specific. In other words, things are wide open. And as you might imagine, Senator Bernie Sanders has very little patience left. In fact, he issued his daily bashing of the bipartisan talks, and this is reporting from Punchbowl News. This is a direct quote from Senator Bernie Sanders, the independent from Vermont, about the status of the infrastructure negotiations. Look, this country faces enormous crises. From the last many decades, government has worked very hard for the wealthy and large corporations. I know you're all familiar with the ProPublica report. By the way, we have done a video on our channel where we highlight how the rich, how the billionaires in our country, like Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, like Elon Musk from Tesla, and like Warren Buffett from Berkshire Hathaway, spent years paying little to no taxes. So this is what Bernie Sanders is saying. I know you're all familiar with the ProPublica report. That's what government has done for many years. The very rich get richer. They pay nothing in taxes. Working families can't afford childcare. They can't afford to send their kids to college, and we have half our people living paycheck to paycheck. In my view, now is the time to finally stand up for the working families of this country. Black and white, Latino, Native American, Asian American. That is what we have got to do. If your question is, do I think there are 10 Republicans who plan to do that? No, I do not. Basically, what he's saying that the Senate will not get 10 Republican senators to vote for this kind of package, and the Democrats are going to have to do it alone, just like they did with the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. That is what Bernie Sanders is saying. And here's what the progressive Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, the Democrat from Washington, said. By the way, she leads the Congressional Progressive Caucus, and this is what she said. It makes no sense. It's not going to change what Republicans have been very clear about, stopping any progress by the Biden administration. Pretty significant, folks. In the meantime, here's a new headline on your screen from the Washington Post. Time is running out. The Democrats are split over President Biden's relentless focus on infrastructure. In fact, the former Housing and Urban Development Secretary, Julian Castro, said this: time is running out for the administration to get big, significant things done. Infrastructure deserves attention, but they need to be putting their energy and their attention more on voting rights now than I believe they are. So you can see that there are different factions amongst the Democrats who want different things. Now, here's an important comment from Anita Dunn, who's a senior White House advisor. The president made getting COVID under control and getting the economy moving again his top priorities. That is what he has been focused on. Dunn added that the White House had moved forward with other issues at the same time. Now, some Democrats want different things done. Here's an interesting comment from Brian Fallon, who's a former Senate Democratic aide, and he heads the liberal group Demand Justice. He said this: the infrastructure bill, its status is up in the air, but its long-term prognosis is okay. You have another patient that's dying on the table, and that's the one you need to triage. Basically, what he's saying is that there are multiple different priorities that the White House needs to focus on at any given moment in time. In other words, they have their hands full and they need to move on and do those things first before they come to the infrastructure package. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section below. Finally, here's an interesting comment from the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. He said this on the floor of the Senate: from the day the White House rolled out its first infrastructure plan in March, it's been clear that the left's definition of the word is evolving faster than even some Democrats can keep track. Basically, he's saying, hey, what the Democrats are doing is widening the definition of infrastructure. They're taking what is considered traditional infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, and broadening it to include human infrastructure, funding for people. And that is not something that the Republicans want. The Senate Minority Leader also said this: Medicaid expansion as infrastructure, paid leave as infrastructure, and job-killing tax increases to hold the assortment together. So you can start to see that there's a significant amount of opposition from the Republicans. In the meantime, Senator Richard Blumenthal, who's a Democrat from Connecticut, said that this is a good recipe for success in the midterms and beyond. And he said this: the White House is right to make infrastructure a priority. It's urgently time sensitive because it's so key to jobs and economic recovery, not to mention faith in the basic capacity of government to build bridges and roads. Now, it's very clear that the Democrats know that this is going to help them in the midterm elections as well. And here's an interesting quote from Senator Martin Heinrich, who's a Democrat from New Mexico. He said this: an infrastructure package that goes light on climate and clean energy should not count on every Democratic vote. In other words, the Democrats have their own agenda that they want included. And speaking of Democrats, here's an interesting tweet from Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the Democrat from New York. She said this: during the Obama administration, folks thought we'd have a 60 Democrat majority for a while. It lasted 4 months. Democrats are burning precious time and impact. It's a hustle. We need to move now. In other words, she's saying, hey, if we lose the majority in the Senate or the House, which is very likely to happen, by the way, because that's what traditionally happens during midterms, if we lose the majority, we're not going to get anything done. So let's not waste time, get stuff done now. And others have warned that even if President Biden is ultimately successful on infrastructure, his victory could be short-lived without action on voting rights, given next year's midterm elections. Here's a quote from the Reverend Al Sharpton: you can win a round, but it does not mean you win the fight. Speaking of the fight, our fight continues here on the Ignition Time channel. My goal is to bring you the latest news pertaining to the country, the economy, as well as our money. I want you to know we work very hard on this channel every single day. We appreciate you. If you want to support our efforts, please click the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. We work hard on this channel, and the production capability of these videos, as you can see, is getting better with every video, thanks to our outstanding production team with Joseph and Jeanette. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Please click the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. I want you to know I work very hard on this channel, and I'll continue to do that. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. You can also follow us on Twitter. Here's our Twitter feed. You'll be able to keep up with all the latest news stories, and we'll continue to provide you with the best content that you'll get on the country, the economy, as well as our money. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.